According to the NHS, a third of patients waiting for an organ transplant come from Black and Asian heritage.
And alarmingly, those from ethnic minorities wait 6 months longer on average to find a match than white people.
So why is this? Well, Dr. Zoe is here to explain, alongside Hilaria Azumu, a kidney disease survivor who had to wait 10 years for a life-saving transplant. Morning to the pair of you.
Morning. Good morning. We cover stories quite a bit that we hear about the disparity when it comes to different illnesses and between Black and brown people and white people, and we're hearing it more and more. Before we go into the sort of details, and I know it's quite nuanced, with you, Zoe, Hilaria, let's start with you and your donation journey, which started quite a long time ago now,
yes,
right?
Yeah, so that was in 2008. I was pregnant, and at 22 weeks, I had a miscarriage, which deteriorated to septicemia, multiple organ failure, 2 cardiac arrests, and then I was in a coma for 2 weeks.
Gosh.
And when I came out of it, the doctors told me that because of the multiple organ failure, it affected my kidneys, so I had to go on dialysis. I was on dialysis for a while, and my kidneys picked up. And then in 2010, it happened again. I was pregnant, and at 22 weeks, the same thing happened, septicemia, multiple organ failure, 2 cardiac arrests. And this time, when they were extubating me from my coma, my lungs collapsed, and they had to reintubate me to save my life. And before this time, they were trying to wake me up from my coma. I wasn't waking up, and they told my husband that they would turn the machine off on a particular day. And it was that day in the morning I woke up.
Gosh.
And I was on dialysis for 10 years, waiting for a donor. Unfortunately, couldn't find any. I have 4 sisters and 3 brothers. They all came forward. My girlfriend from high school came forward as well. None of them was a match. My girlfriend decided to go on the PET scheme with me. She waited another 3 years, but unfortunately, because of my high antibodies rate, which was at 97%, they couldn't find a match for me. So I waited those 10 years. And
Hilaria, what was that scheme you mentioned?
The PET scheme. So the PET scheme is where somebody who is looking for a transplant, you go into a sort of like circle. So different people who can find donors, they go into a scheme. So it's like 5 people in that circle.
Yeah.
And each person gives to the other. So they match the other. So it's, you know, and the operation is done on the same day.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So everybody gets a transplant.
So when you feel like, I suppose, in terms of your family, your friends, the paired scheme, you must feel like you've exhausted all options at this point and all avenues. And we're talking years. We're not talking weeks and months.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Well, with the PET scheme, once you're in there for a while trying to find something. And if you don't find something, you just continue to be in there. Or you're still on dialysis anyway. So I was on dialysis. But in 2018, I first got a call in 2017, but I was the second choice. And the first person got it. But then in 2018, they called me. I just finished my dialysis in the morning because I was now doing home hemodialysis, which is called HHD. And I just finished my dialysis. I was talking to my sister in the States, and a call came through. It was the hospital. And the voice came through, and it said, "We found a kidney for you."
Oh, wow.
That was an amazing...
I can only imagine.
Well, that's the first day of the rest of your life.
Right.
It was the first...
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know what to do. And they said, "We need you in the hospital at 6:30. We want you to come through."
So there and then, so you get the phone call on that day and that's
you
how
go
instant
in.
it is?
Yes, and you go straight in. I went down to my husband. He was downstairs working, jumped on him. I was screaming, I was crying. And he said, go get ready, let's get you to the hospital.
Wow.
We got to the hospital. The doctors were coming in to talk to me, to tell me how things were going. And at 2 a.m., I went into the theatre, and I came out at 9 a.m. I'd gotten the kidney. And believe me, it was like my life was It was a second
You're
chance at
reborn.
life. I
You're
was
reborn, yeah.
because previously I looked so black because on dialysis it sort of like changes, you know, your
Skin
outlook.
tone.
Yes. And I looked so much better, you know, from how I was for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful to my donor family. I was sat there in my chair. I was just praying, I was crying, because before this I'd lost my faith, because I thought God had abandoned me.
Well, that's how you would definitely start to feel,
That's
right?
how, yes, yeah.
Zoe, I want to come to you because obviously, you know, and we hear a lot about people waiting for organs and how long that can take. And it's not like, you know, here's an organ for you free today. It's not something that's very easy, right? Why the disparity? Why is it so much longer for black people, brown people? Why does it look like that?
I mean, it is like that. So it's a double whammy, really. So people from the black community are more likely to need a kidney or liver even, because there are certain conditions that affect the kidneys, such as diabetes, high blood pressure, sickle cell disease, which mean they're more likely to go on to need a transplant. But also, there are less donors from the black community, the Asian community and other minor ethnic groups as well coming forwards. There are complex reasons why that might be. But what we know, if you need a kidney, like Hilaria did, you need to be matched for blood type, but you also need to be matched as close as possible for tissue type, and that's very, very complex. And we know that people are more likely to match within their ethnic group than outside of their ethnic group. So actually, in order to level out this disparity, we need more people from black, Asian and ethnic minority groups to come forward. At the moment, if you're white, you can expect to wait on average 488 days for a kidney, but if you're black, it's 735, and if you're Asian, it's 650. There are lots of reasons why black people might be less likely to come forward. People may be worried about cultural, religious reasons, or their own experiences in the past, or the history, the complex history that people might have with authority and with healthcare services in general.
Can you explain the opt-out system as well? Sorry,
yeah,
a minute.
If people have that, just investigate a bit more. Now, it's assumed that people have given consent unless they opt out. So I would urge everybody, go online to the NHS donor website, opt in if that's what you want to do, opt out. You can also choose to opt to donate some organs and not others. Do that so that you, your family and the healthcare professionals know what your options are, but also speak to your relatives. There's other things you can do. You can actually put your little donor card on your phone. There's all sorts, but let people know what your wishes are so that your organs can be used if you want them to save the life or extend the life of another person.
Thank you so much. Hilaria, we've run out of time, but, I mean, you know, you're doing a lot of work now within your community, aren't you? We're back in Nigeria too, so well done for that. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. It's so important. You would have helped so many people today.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.